mistake appears obvious, but in hindsight you could not have known in advance.
Have you ever noticed those voices in your head? One telling you to go to the gym and the other one says you can stay in bed. Or one telling you to get to work and the other one says you can put it off until later. This is because you have two brains. One is automatic and fast, while the other one is deliberate and slow. And spoiler alert, they're not very good at talking to each other. The information in this video is based on the book Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. And I've been wanting to do a video about this book since I started this channel because it's so groundbreaking and it influences till this day how I look at my own decisions. So stick around if you want to learn something awesome. Let's begin. Let's go over the broad concepts first and then later we'll see how it influences our lives. So Daniel Kahneman explains that there are two systems, System 1 and System 2. The first system is very fast thinking. It's thinking done that's almost automatic or instinctive. System 1 is like your lizard brain. It's been around the longest before humans got so clever. Thinking in this system almost costs no effort, but you have no control over this system. Even though most people would describe themselves as practical or logical, this system influences people more than you might think. To observe a feature of System 1, take a glance at this picture. Now in an instant you saw that this woman was very angry and you also saw the future. She's probably gonna say some very unkind words, probably in a loud voice. With System 1 we perceive the world, we orient our attention, we recognize objects like that lamp and that camera, we chew gum and we fear spiders. Jesus! System 1 can also detect that one object is more distant than another. You can drive a car on an empty road with System 1 and also it can answer the question to what is 2 plus 2. All of these things and more are operations of System 1 and they occur automatically and require little to no effort. Alright, now System 2 is more slow and deliberate. Kahneman explains that the second system involves thinking that is more complex and more mentally draining. System 2 is often easier to identify with. It is the conscious self, the version of you that can make decisions, choices and has reasons and beliefs. The very diverse operations of System 2 have one thing in common. They require constant attention and can easily be drawn away. What? I'll give you a simple example of a typical System 2 operation. Look at the following problem. You knew immediately that it was a multiplication problem. That's your System 1. You probably also had some vague intuitive knowledge of the range of the multiplication problem. You knew intuitively that it couldn't be 15 and that it couldn't be 15,000. But what you probably didn't intuitively know is that the answer to the question is 568. Unless you're a math teacher or you're God. If you would actually try and solve this problem, you would start feeling a strain in your brain and you would also most likely start frowning, like this. And that's your System 2 working, retrieving from memory on how to solve the problem and then actually implementing it and solving the problem. But that's not all your System 2 can do. It can also handle operations like parking in a very narrow parking space. It can also compare two washing machines for overall values and it can also fill out a tax form. Now let's pause real quick because I want to show you something fun. We know that System 1 can influence System 2. But what you didn't know maybe is that System 2 can also influence System 1 and we can do this with one very simple trick. You behind your phone or your computer, if you have a pencil nearby, put it between your teeth and bite down on it. If you don't have a pencil, just smile as wide as you can. You feel happy, right? Or at least a little amused. There's no obvious reason for you to be happy right now, or at least feel a little amused. But by doing something with your System 2, smiling, which is usually a System 1 action, it's very intuitive and automatic, you feel happy. There are many studies done on these primers, as they call it. And the results are kind of fantastic. For example, if you let people review a restaurant they just ate at and add a pencil in between the lips, they will give much better reviews. And the opposite happens if you make those people frown. Now let's have a look at the two systems together and see how it impacts us in real life. There is an incredible amount of information in this 500-page book, which we cannot all cover. But what I found most striking about this book is how system 1 and 2 cooperate and also counteract each other when a decision must be made. And this goes back to what I said in the intro. Sometimes we're willing to give up the right decision, the logical decision, for something that feels right in the moment, which we will later regret. This is a great example where system 2 is tired and system 1 wins. Now, why is this and how can we avoid making the wrong choice? The problem with system 2, which usually makes the right long-term decision, like saving money instead of spending money, is very slow and very draining. And guess what? Your brain doesn't like spending energy when it's unnecessary. We are naturally drawn to solutions that require as little mental effort as possible. And after a while of waiting and not making the right decision, your system 2 gives up and lets system 1 make the decision. This is called a lazy controller. System 2 should be checking up on system 1, but is often too lazy and wants to conserve energy to do so. And because of this, system 1 will make the decision and will place a lot of trust in intuition and emotions. And that's why you're ordering takeout food on a day you plan to eat healthy and cook for yourself. There are a few tricks, by the way, that can help in situations like this where you're unable to make the right decision. You can simply count down from 5 to 1 and then exhale and then make the decision. Oddly enough, this works because you're already invested in this little countdown thing. But the main reason this works is because you actually make a decision. Keep in mind, your system 2 gives up when it's tired. You just need to make a decision right away and go do it. Another great strategy is just to overwhelm your system 1 with actual logical knowledge. And the most common way to do it is just with a simple pros and cons list. Simply headline the decision and then fill in the pros and cons of what the decision will result in. And more often than not, you will easily see which side of the column is more logical if you take all of the emotion and all of the intuition out of it. So that's how you can influence your emotions and your instinct, system 1, with logic, system 2. I really hope I did a decent job at explaining the general concepts of this book. Now, we've barely graced the surface of this book and it's so big, it's 500 pages, it's hard to put it all into one video. If you're interested in this kind of thing, which I guess you are because you waited until the end, get this book. It's really good and it will change the way you look at decision making and much more. If you do want to pick this book up, I would suggest getting the hard copy instead of the Audible version, because the audio version is kind of hard to follow with this book sometimes. And not because of the presentation, but it's just kind of technical and you want to be able to reread some stuff. There's a link in the description if you're interested. Otherwise, if you like this video, leave a like. If you love this video, subscribe, and see you soon. Thank you for watching.